Welcome everybody to another Musiversal webinar. Well, actually, this is a little bit of a different thing. Tonight we're having a songwriting night with the one and only Clare Dove. How are you doing tonight, Clare?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I hope everyone here is doing great as well. So, if you are here already, please let us know in the chat. We have a lot of people that sent a lot of songs for us to take a look at, for Claire to take a look at tonight, and we would love to see you in the chat as well. Now, before we start, I do have a couple of things that I want to say to you guys regarding especially this live stream and Musiversal Unlimited. As most of you know, Musiversal Unlimited is our service here at Musiversal that grants you unlimited recordings with any session musician from our platform for $199 a month. And by the way, if you want songwriting advice, Claire is available in Musiversal Unlimited. So you should definitely take a look at that if you are looking to take your songs and your music to the next level. Now, if you want to join this live stream, you want to be part of it, send your questions. If you want us to read your questions and answer your questions, there's a much better place for you to do that other than YouTube. We have a Circle community that you can join, and there in Circle we have a link for this live stream that you can go to another app called Riverside, and there is where we're gonna be looking at the questions mostly. Of course, we will keep an eye here on YouTube because we always do. But if you have pressing questions during the live stream and you want them answered right away, you should go to Riverside, and we're gonna link here in the chat where how can you join there. And also at the end, if you have any questions, you can actually show up here in the live stream and ask your questions if we have some time for that. So you definitely want to be on Riverside and not just here on YouTube for you to ask any questions. Now, without further ado, we can start talking about music. What do you think about that, Claire?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk music. So, hi everyone. Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm so excited to be back on another live stream talking all things songwriting and Musiversal. And this evening, we are specifically going to be looking at lyrics. Before we dive into that, I guess I should just tell you why I have any qualification to talk to you about your songwriting at all. So I'm a vocalist and songwriter, and I've written with some of the best artists and producers all over the world, from Brit Award winners to Grammy winners, amazing up and coming artists. I write my own music, and I also write a lot of music for film, TVs, sync. I also write lots of vocal sample packs. So if you use sites for like vocal sampling, you might have used my vocal samples before. So I've kind of touched on pretty much every area of songwriting, and I love it. And I love talking about songwriting. So that's what I'm hoping to bring to you, a little bit of experience that can help you with some of your songwriting goals. This evening, we are specifically looking at lyric writing. And we've had loads of amazing submissions from you all, with people asking for help with their lyrics and advice or just general tips and feedback. Now, we got loads of amazing submissions. I'm just going to use 9 to give feedback on. Now, that does not mean that they are the 9 that I thought were the best or liked the most or anything like that. I picked the 9 that I thought would be most beneficial for everybody to hear the feedback on, so that hopefully, even if I don't look at your song, you can take something away and apply it to your own songwriting. As we said at the beginning, there'll be time at the end for questions. As I'm going through people's songs, if I'm giving feedback on your song and you're like, oh, she just said something I really want to ask a question about, each of your songs are numbered. So just make a note, okay, mine was song number 4. And then at the end, if you say, hey, Claire, I'm the writer of song number 4. Can I just ask you a question about what you said? And then we can kind of bring it back up. So we'll do all the questions at the end. We'll leave loads of time. You can also ask any general questions about songwriting, music, Musiversal, all that good stuff. There'll be time for that. So without further ado, let's jump into these songs. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to all look at the lyrics at the same time together. So again, thank you people that submitted songs. I know it's a really like vulnerable thing to do, to share your music and your writing with people. So thank you for sharing. First up, now I'm not always going to name people, I'm just going to sort of bring the song up and get straight into the lyrics. So rather than me reading aloud like a story time, hopefully you can all see this on your screen. I'm just going to give everyone a second just to kind of cast their eyes over the lyrics, and then we'll start talking about them. So this person has really clearly labelled out their sections, which is really great and shows me that they have a really good understanding of their structure in their songwriting. So just having a look at these opening lyrics, I first of all really love the imagery that's painted from that beginning opening line, Lavender Town, Golden Isle. That is such a beautiful opening lyric and really grabs us in and starts to give us a visual from the beginning. I really love when songwriters paint a picture with their lyrics, especially from the get-go, because you just bring us in straight away. So I love that, and you've started kind of creating this world for us to live in. So Lavender Town, Golden Isle, grass-covered roots along the dark. I heard the sighs of the falling rain on the true land of saints. Bring me to life upon this night. Beautiful, beautiful words. Now, what I would say is lyrics don't always have to rhyme, of course. It's like poetry, but there is a reason why a lot of really successful and memorable songs do have rhyming in them. And it's because it just helps the message sink into our ears more and just feels like a nice, rounded off, whole, lovely piece of something when we have a little rhyme in there. So that doesn't have to be every line, but for example, we could challenge ourselves. We've got this beautiful opening line here, Lavender Town, Golden Isle. I'd love to see if on this third line here, hopefully you can see the highlighting as I'm doing it, if we challenged ourselves to try and put another rhyme in here, swapping out this line. And if not, if that line feels too important, sometimes we have to sacrifice and go back and say, I want it to work with something else. Let me try and pair it up and see if maybe we need to lose something else to make it work. Now, again, you might be a songwriter that's like, I actually don't really care about things rhyming. It's not interesting to me, and that's fine. So a big old disclaimer at the beginning. Songwriting is art, and that means there are no wrongs and rights, but this is just kind of some tips that I generally find make for successful, memorable songs. So I'd encourage this writer just to explore, are there just a few moments where we can find a rhyming couplet, or alternatively, we could leave those as is and we could try and rhyme dark with something else here, or swap out that so that this pair, line 2 and 4, have a little rhyme, okay? Other than that, we've got a really beautiful first verse. Let's just cast our eyes across this chorus there. So we've got, there was a king who ruled over all, reigned over them all. Sorry, I said I wouldn't talk out loud like it was a bedtime story, but I sort of can't resist. I'll let you read in your heads. Beautiful, some beautiful words here. Now, you will have to forgive me if I am missing an obvious reference. I feel like this could potentially be religious text that is unfamiliar to me, so I am missing the fact that this could potentially be a direct quote that is very important. However, what I would say is I would love to explore a little bit more of a personal angle to this chorus, to make it feel like this is your telling of the story. And even when we are using religious music and we're making music that is worship music, and therefore we're trying to stay true to an outline of text, I still think it's really important that you bring a little bit of your personal journey into that song. So instead of just potentially reeling off text that you've heard somewhere else before, or using lines that you've heard somewhere else before, even when they are beautiful, it's really nice to just bring a bit of what that means to you, or what's your personal angle with this, okay? Because at the minute, what happens with this song when I look at it is everything is really beautiful, and yeah, there's lots of lovely phrases in here. That chorus then repeats. We've got a similar thing with verse 2 where we have some lovely visual words. But at the moment, this song doesn't bring me into it. I feel like I am reading sort of quoted text, and it's lovely, but I want to feel kind of connected to it. At the minute, this, I'm saying story in a way that I call all songs stories, okay? But this story right now doesn't bring me in. I don't really know what's going on. So those are my tips for this writer. I would love you to keep this beautiful imagery that you've got in there, but explore trying to bring some little rhyming patterns in there, especially because, again, then we also don't really have any rhymes happening in this chorus section. We've got a really nice repeated sort of post-chorus section here, which is really great because that'll be really simple and strong, and it really gives us that word burn it all. Yeah, but in the context of the whole story of this song, I feel like I'm not entirely sure what you want me as a listener to take from your song. And I want to come into your world, but I feel like I'm not quite being let in yet. So see if you can give us just a little bit more of a sort of personal opening into your story to let us in, okay? And you can feel free to ignore any of those tips and say, I love it as it is. But those are the things that I would do. So thank you so much to this person that has shared this beautiful song. And I know it's going to be something really, really special. Okay, I'm trying to kind of keep track of how long I'm talking about songs. Okay, that's our first song. Thank you so much. Okay, song 2. Apologies if I'm moving too quickly. Okay, let's have a little look at this first verse. Now, I really, really am loving the choices that this writer has made with their lyrics. From the get-go, it kind of reads to me in a nice pattern and a flow, and I can feel how that's just going to lift into music and just feels so good on the ear because they've really carefully written these lines. Kind of carrying on from what we talked about before, just have a look at this pairing. So we've got on this line 2, that rhyme here, the same line, da 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 da, fall behind. And then here we've got sometimes you lose in your shoes. And we don't have to be on the nose with the rhyme. You can see that here it hasn't constricted the story in any way or made us use not interesting words. Kind of says the perfect thing. Sometimes you just have to seek it out a little bit more. So this writer has really, really gone to the effort to do that and give us those beautiful little couplets. The messaging of this song immediately is really clear to me, and this writer has done a fantastic job of giving us a message that feels universal. This idea, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. No one will ever run that last mile in your shoes. Everyone knows that feeling. Like, we might have it in different situations, but everyone knows that feeling. And that is a great place to write a song from because we can all connect to it. And then this song is giving us something positive. And then we've made a really great choice here, even though that phrase, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, that we've heard before. But the payoff that this writer has used is, I've got miles to go. That's the bit that stays with us. And that feels like a new idea. That's telling us, oh, I know I've got a long way to go, but I know I can do it. And that little phrase, I've got miles to go, I can imagine it being stuck in your head as being something that you can kind of come back to and call upon. We then do a really great thing where in the second verse, we continue the story. We don't just repeat verse 1 in like slightly different words. We have something new. We tell more of the story. So it's like, here, tell us about your personal connection to this song. In the beginning, if you notice, we use, we are all the same, they said, but we don't start. So we're talking more generally at the beginning. And then in verse 2, it's like, hey, and here's my personal experience. I've tasted bitter dust, okay? And I think that's really, really lovely. We have this beautiful rhyme here with dust and crushed. So nice. Okay. And then we repeat this really catchy lyrical section. And it's quite a feat to be able to say that a lyric is already catchy. I haven't even heard the tune yet, but I already know, like, oh, this will be a catchy song from how the lyrics are written. And then we leave with our bridge this really positive message. And we have the use of repetition here, which I think is really clever. Only matters how you finish. Sometimes only if you finish. Only matters how you finish. Finish. And we repeat that word finish like a little mantra in our heads, like, yes, it doesn't matter all the mistakes I've made. It matters how you finish, finish, finish. And that's what sticks in our brain. And then we have our chorus again. So yeah, to David, really, really fantastic. A really great example of kind of implementing all the things that I often talk about in songwriting, which is giving us an idea that is relatable, but also personal to you. And also there's an element of originality about it with this phrase of I've got miles to go. So really fantastic work, David. Okay. Moving on to number 3. This is Beautiful Life. So let's just have a scan through. So we're in columns for this one. So we're going to start over in this area. Let's all just have a read as I refresh my memory as well. Nice. I really like this idea of this section where we sort of repeat like, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful life. I think that's so nice. It puts me into this idea of this sort of image of happiness, and you're just like, oh, there's nothing else to say. It's just a like, what more is there to say than it's a beautiful life? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like, I think that's so beautiful. Let's have a look at this first verse. Always thinking of you, you should know, really is no other. If perfect was a person, you should know you're the better version. Nice. Okay, so in here, we've got this repetition of the phrase, you should know. We have it in multiple places here, which is really nice because I think it really hammers in that this is what I want you to know, and it's personal and you're talking directly to this person. Yeah, really, really nice. Now, one thing I would say is we have this sort of end line of our chorus of golden hour reflection with the sun kissing your skin. But I'm just looking through again now. We don't get any other imagery of the sun and golden hour. So there's no indicator anywhere else of this sort of image that we're setting up. And I would love to see if in our verses, we might be able to make some tweaks and sort of add in this picture. Like, okay, so we're somewhere where the sun is kissing your skin and there's a golden hour reflection. Like, where are we? Because I'm guessing we're not like sitting on the couch. So try and set up a little bit earlier. Because you've saved golden hour reflection and this to sort of the end of your chorus, it makes it into sort of like the payoff line before we get to this post section of beautiful, beautiful life. So it makes this feel like it's a really important visual for us. But the verses don't really connect to that. The verses just kind of say in different ways, I love you and I don't want you to go anywhere. We could definitely explore in those verses trying to tell us a little bit more story and detail, because right now I could kind of sum up everything that we say in the verses in like one line, and that line would be like, I love you. Okay, we're just saying it in different ways, but I wonder if there's some other visuals, some personal things, something that feels maybe even like it's a little in joke between you and this person, something that feels really personal and special, something that connects this idea of us being somewhere where the sun is kissing your skin and there's golden hour reflection. you know? Maybe mention some sand or some sea or some something before we get there, so that I get more of a full picture and rounding out of what this song is about, particularly when we're talking about the title of the song and the main thing wanting to be beautiful life. So tell us some other beautiful things. What's beautiful about this life? Does this person make the sea look more sparkly? Do they make the air smell like pineapples? Do you know? Like, try and wrap it all up together so all the themes become one thing. So yeah, let's see if we can kind of develop those initial ideas in your verses a little bit deeper and a little bit more sort of original to tie in with this final idea of it being a beautiful life and something really remarkable and special. Okay, but again, really, really nice work so far. By the way, you'll notice I'm always talking about edits as being like, oh, why don't we do this? Let's do this. We do this. And I know it's going to be you that goes and does it, but I just get excited about all of your songs. And I'm like, oh, we could do this. But obviously it's going to be you doing it. Okay, let's have a look at song 4. Now, this is really interesting because this is a very different kind of vibe. So have a little look and just see if you can sort of guess in your mind what this song feels like it's about. I won't scroll all the way down. You can kind of get it from that first chorus and verse. I'm just reading it as well again. So this is an example of lyrics that are just really interesting to look at without music, because there's no other context for them than just these words. When I read that first line, big bucks buys paradise. You want in, you got to pay the price. It sort of makes me think like we're going in like a direction of like, you paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Like that kind of song. Like, it's deep and it's poetic. And then you read on and lines in this, I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like, there's funny stuff in here. So what is the tone of this writer? Now, I know this songwriter did send me a little note as an aside, but I'm going to pretend I haven't seen that and I'm just judging it. Well, not judging it. I'm just interpreting it from the lyrics alone. And I think this could go in two really, really interesting directions. And I almost would love to hear you write sort of two versions of this song, because this song I think it's like really funny. It's kind of scrolling down more. When I get home, I pick up the phone, call the agent and he's laughing, says there's a bidding war, 6 offers over asking. It just, yeah, I really enjoy it. So in case you haven't sort of guessed already, this is a song about the frustration of a housing crisis in this person's area and how it's basically impossible to get a home there, which I'm sure any of you that live in kind of big cities or big desirable areas, you've kind of faced this. I live in London, so that idea of kind of queuing around the block to view an apartment that's already been given to somebody else, like, really really resonates. So I think there's definite potential for this to be almost like a comedy song, and I mean that in the best way. But also you could take this song in the other direction, starting with this chorus staying exactly as it is, and then taking it in just like a slightly more poetic angle and talking about like the deeper picture of that, and maybe bringing in some metaphors. So instead of literally talking about people are coming and they're buying up the houses and I can't find anywhere to live, are there metaphors we can use for that? Can we use like the weather? Can we use, there's a line I think you already have about kind of swarming like flies. Can we make more of that? So I would actually really, really love to hear and see two versions of this song, or at least I'd love to challenge this writer to explore that side of their writing, because everything that's here I think is really, really marvelous already. It really, I don't know if the intention was to make me laugh, maybe the intention was to make me really cry, but my interpretation was like, yeah, that is crazy, that, like, what a nightmare. But their telling of it, it feels like this kind of like sarcastic, frustrated storytelling, and yeah, it's really great. So I love the kind of different direction that this song is in, and how it's clearly very specific to their experience, but it feels, still something about it feels universal. But yeah, I challenge you, songwriter, see if you can keep that chorus the exact same and write some verses that feel less on the nose, and see if you can write a version that's kind of that more indie, timeless, almost protest song. Yeah, so really great work. I really, really enjoyed reading this. Oh, I need to go so much faster, don't I? Okay, let's move quicker. Sorry, I just get so excited with all your songwriting. Okay, let's have a quick look through. Yeah, I really like these lyrics as well. So I'm just reading the whole thing again. Oh, now I remember. This is what I was going to say with the song. I feel like the writing here is really, really great, but I feel like there's almost two different songs happening. Like there's kind of maybe too many sort of storylines, and I think we should pick one and really explore it, okay? Because we talk about this idea of like, I think I see you, maybe it was just my imagination, maybe I dreamed this, like, is it fate, like maybe it was just a glance, and it sets up this image for me of like, yeah, you're almost like so badly wanting to find someone and believe that you've found this connection, and then you're saying like, that I wonder, like, was that real, or did I imagine it? I think that is a really great place. You can really play with the audience there with this idea of, oh, was there like a chance encounter, like, oh, did they see someone, or like, actually, is this person like delusional? You know that Uninvited song, you're uninvited, YouTube, don't cut me off, I just sung one line, where as that song goes on, or like Every Step You Take, you know those songs that as they go on you're like, oh, is this like actually a little bit creepy? I think that could be a really cool direction to move in this song. And it's when we get to this section of like, I call to you, to your sleepless soul, the time has come to close your search, you found your home. That for me feels like it's actually maybe a verse for like a different idea. And I want to come back to this idea, this seeing somebody, and did they see you, and I think they saw me, and I wonder, and leaning into that idea of maybe toying with your audience, because I think there's the potential for a really clever song here. I just feel like this section here maybe belongs in a different song. Sometimes we really have to do that. We have all these ideas, and sometimes we need to go back and look at them and think, actually, that stuff I'm saying there, that can actually live in another song. Like, this song is about this picture, okay? So I'm trying to go a little bit faster now. But yeah, really, really fantastic. I think this could go in a really, really exciting place. So well done to this songwriter. I'm getting so excited about all your songs, everybody. Okay, on to number 6. Here we go. How am I for time? Good. Let's have a look. They call out to me. I reach out for them. So it's kind of coming back to me now, the sort of mental notes I'd started making about these songs. So a little bit similar, I guess, to the feedback on the previous song. I feel like with this one, again, we just need to hone in a little bit further with our lyrics on what this song is truly about. Even if that reveal is not right at the top, if we're kind of saving it. What is the story of this song? Because from an outside view, having read it a couple of times, I'm not entirely sure. Like, have you fallen in love with a siren, or there were sirens, but you've fallen in love with someone that's not a siren? Because we kind of, the sirens come and then here and they call out to me and I feel the breeze. Will you come through? Okay, so is it one of the sirens you want to come through, or someone else entirely? And then we say, they slip back in the deep. I wonder what could have been for them and me. Okay, so now we're thinking about them again, not you, whoever the you is, okay? And then you came singing your song, but the sirens have already gone. So who is the you that you can hear from the reef? Is it like another siren that wasn't with the siren? So do you see what I mean? I'm sure as the writer, you have the story really clear in your head. But as an outside person, I'm not quite sure who it is we're falling in love with. Who did we want to stay or go? Who are we wondering what could have been? So I think just be a little bit clearer on that theme and that story so we can really connect to it. The actual imagery and the writing, I feel the breeze on my neck and feet. Will you come through for me and you? This breeze and feet pair is a really good example of how our rhyming doesn't have to be literally exact. So we don't have to do breeze and ease or cheese. Like, we can use feet. When we sing that will sound perfect. It will sound right. So there's really great rhyming patterns in here. And actually this writer has perfect little rhyming couplets throughout. That's really lovely. It's really carefully crafted. I just need you to go back and get a little bit clearer about what this message is, because then our sort of ending idea, the sirens sang their songs, I didn't care about a one. Okay, I thought we did care, because we're wondering what could have been for you and me, or them and me. But I didn't care, because you're all that I need. Have I met you before? Am I just meeting you now? Are you a siren? You get the idea. I know this writer's listening like, I get it. I need to do that. Okay? But the actual writing, the imagery, choosing to write a song even about sirens, and I think that's such a strong concept. So we're on to something really good here. But let's just kind of iron out the story. Moving on. I want to make sure we've got time for questions at the end. So if you are getting a question bubbling away, just keep it ready, because I'm coming to you shortly. Okay, let's have a listen to this. Now, I know I've bolded out this for a reason. Okay, let's have a little scan back through. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. So with this song, I really love the opening imagery, and I love that straight away you're kind of taking us to this place where there's that magnolia tree, and it's where you kissed me on the side of your car, and this is what the car looked like, and this is how I felt. So this is all perfect. I love how we talk about, like, if you remember that special time, it wasn't cold or November, it was early spring. And I actually really love this kind of being really specific by saying, like, it's almost like, I know it wasn't November, like it was spring, but we're not saying like the exact day when in spring, because that's not what matters. What matters is everything that I felt, and the bees that were singing, and the flowers, and all of this beautiful stuff. How you're so specific about this memory, but it almost, like, it doesn't matter what day it was, it doesn't matter if it was May or April, it was sometime in spring, but it was so special. So I actually really love that kind of contrast of sort of naming the cold or November and then talking about spring. I really, really love that. Now, obviously, I don't know how the sort of melody of this song stretches out, but for me to read it, we start to get a little bit kind of jumbly. And I mean that we start off by painting this picture, and my heart just sings, and you've told me once, I wanted to hear it many times, you love me. And then I feel like we almost, in this kind of section here, from the bees to you want me, you're mine, we get a little bit sort of, what am I trying to say? A little bit muddy. Like, we start off with this really crisp imagery, and then we kind of sort of wander off a little bit here. Wanted to hear it many times that you love me and you want me and you're mine. Like, for me, I just feel like that section, maybe we don't need it. Maybe we just need one line. Maybe we just need, and my heart, like, just, like, felt like spring, and my heart sings. And then we go back to the magnolia tree, because we kind of talk about the tree again, then we talk about the car again, then we say I love you again. So I just think we can tidy up those ideas. Let's paint the picture, the car, the season, how it feels, then let's have your chorus, which I'm assuming is this magnolia. We just kind of have a few too many kind of ideas floating around, and we're kind of saying the same thing, and we're kind of doubling back on ourselves. So just tidy up those sort of ideas. Then I obviously don't know how this melody goes, but I know that it's very important that we hear the magnolia, and that's obviously our repeated most important theme and image. So love that. Then we kind of say again, it wasn't winter time or mid-November. So I'm like, okay, we've established that. Maybe we don't need to hear that again. Maybe let's say something different, because then we start to talk about, I'm your sunshine in December, you're the light in the winter, spring, the tide is swinging. Once we got to here, which is why I put it in bold again, this felt like just a variation on stuff you'd already said at the beginning, but not repeated. It's different, but it's not kind of different enough. So what I would love for you to do is, when we get to this second section, give us completely new ideas. Tell me something else. Tell me another memory about that magnolia. Like, maybe, and then a year later when we had a picnic there, or maybe twist the song. Maybe under the magnolia tree is then where you broke up, and it has this beautiful memory, and then it has this painful memory. But the important thing is that you're always going to be my magnolia. Like, actually, as I'm saying it, that could be a really interesting way to go. But either way, just this idea here, I really think we need something new. Yeah. And then obviously we come back to You're My Magnolia, which I really love. And I love that imagery. I think we can be even kind of smarter and more concise with our writing. How we've time. Ooh, we're good. Okay. I'm getting us back on track. Really well done to this writer. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. I hope you're here. I hope these people are here. I can't see you right now because I'm looking at lyrics, but I hope you're here. All right. Let's have a look at this song number 8. I believe that first line is the title, and then we start from here. So let's have a little scan through these lyrics. Yeah, I love this. This feels like a really empowering song. I love all these images, all of these images. Like this line, I never fold because I ain't an origami. Like that line, I love that. That's so good and so clever. Like you don't need me to explain why that's a clever line, but so good. Such a great line. And then this to me, I don't know if this is the intended chorus. This feels like the chorus. Now I just bolded out the as if because I felt like it slightly weakened the sentiment. And I kind of want you to say, because we're talking about like, I'm born from kings, so they call me queen. I can make nothing, make it be something. And I want to hear that final line as like, I got control, I hold the reins. You know, it's not as if I hold the reins. No, you hold the reins. And I felt like the kind of as if just ever so slightly weakened that sentiment. And I really want this to just be unashamedly empowered and bold. So I think, yeah, let's lose the as if. It's not as if you hold the reins, you do hold the reins, okay? Then, love this. Again, I love these rhyming patterns. My blessings more than just food and water encompasses things like raising my daughter. Like, it's a beautiful sentiment and the lyric is really well crafted. And then this is just where I just highlighted this because I'm like, this feels like not quite rounded out. The God is carbon, the sun rises every day, he'd been off that cross. Now, you could make the choice to round it out, or you could very intentionally have that not be a rhyme because you want it to stand out in almost like a jarring way, in like a positive way. Like you want that line to kind of make people go, oh. So just think about that. Do you want it to have that effect, or actually do you want that verse to continue to flow? And if you want it to flow more together, then I think have a look at swapping one of those end two words so we can make more of a sort of rounded out rhyme. I love this section. Beings from the strongest genes, kill the scene and dream. I love that we use seen and seen, but the two different usages of the word. I love it. This is all great. We repeat the word me, which I think is really strong here because the song is an empowering song. So yeah, let us hear about you all the time. It's me, 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 me. Yeah, I love that. Then when we repeat this section, I felt like, presuming that this is your hook, I want it to be the same as it was before. So that line, I got control, I hold the reins. Like, let's end with that again. So it feels like a repeated hook. Now, I know I could be interpreting the structure of your song wrong, but just from looking at the lyrics, I would just round it out by making something repeated. Especially when you've got a song with a lot of words and a lot of clever lyrics, it's nice if every now and then we just come back to something that your audience is like, oh, I'm familiar with this already. Otherwise, it's kind of like we're giving them a lot of new ideas all the time. It's nice to sort of come home to something that's consistently the same. And then we have this last section that I really love again. You're looking at a goddess. I wonder if, again, this is a choice that you need to just decide on, because we have me, B, G, and then goddess, which obviously is going to disrupt the flow. Now, do you want to do that again? Do you want to only do it here? Do you want to do it in both places? If you do it in both places, does that kind of lessen the impact of this sort of jarring moment? So that's just something to think about. Just those two little places where potentially you just need to do a little bit of fine tuning just to round out the flow of everything. But really, really great. Fantastic. And I've got time. Yay! Just about got time for one more, and then we will take some questions. So thank you as well if you've been dying to ask a question and you're being patient. But I hope all of this stuff that I'm talking about with all these songs, I hope that you're all taking stuff away from it that feels like you can apply to your own songwriting. Okay, let's look at this last song. Just remind myself what my notes were. Oh, yeah. Yes. I remember this now. Okay, so what I really loved about this song is one of the things that I've kind of talked about a little bit already, where you introduce what this song is about and we immediately set this picture. So immediately we're there with you. We're in the dark. There's hot tears rolling down your eyes. You're trying to like hide them. The walls grow wider every day. And I really like that use of the walls grow wider, because typically, like, I thought you were going to talk about the walls are closing in, but they're growing wider. And actually, I guess it's like the walls that you're building up around you in your relationship, because we just don't have much to say. I love this. Really simple but effective. I feel invisible to you. You make it impossible to get through to you. And then we're talking about, but I want to be on fire again. And then we kind of have this really nice juxtaposition from opening the song talking about darkness, and then the chorus is about fire and spark and igniting things. So I really love that. And by choosing this theme of wanting to feel the fire, it gives us a lot of imagery to use. So we want to ignite the spark. We want to burn the flame until the light. Yeah, really love. Then what I loved about this is you let us into more of the story, because you've already kind of set up everything. I know the feeling of this song, and then you give us another layer. It doesn't take us too far away. It's not something that belongs in another song. It's just another layer of how you're feeling. You're reflecting now on how did we get to here? The place where I started the song from, with being in this dark room crying. Now I'm taking the time to reflect, like, how did we get here? And then we've got how do we rekindle, which is obviously very clever because we're talking about the fire and the spark. So really, really great. So I just picked this as a really great example of how our verse 2 introduces new ideas but develops the story more. Yeah, so that's just a really great example of us doing this. And then our bridge, it's like we locked ourselves in a darkened room, dreamed of dancing on a sunny afternoon. Now, I just would challenge this writer to take another look at that bridge, because we say it's like we locked ourselves in a darkened room. Now, we've already talked about a dark room right at the beginning of the song. So maybe we need to reference that I'm in a darkened room, or maybe we need a whole different idea here so it feels like something new. And then dreamed of dancing on a sunny afternoon just feels a little bit misplaced, because the rest of the imagery to me feels so clear. It's about darkness versus fire and flames, and even at the beginning when you've got the hot tears, that all feels like it lives in a certain world where, and we're trying to get back to sparks and igniting and heat. And the sunny afternoon to me feels a little bit too almost mild for the emotion of this song. So I just challenge you to have a look back on this bridge. I think there's more exciting imagery with the heat and the darkness of this song that you can pull in to this bridge. So I would maybe just take a look at that and just strengthen it a little bit. other than that, really, really great writing. And that is our 9th song. I'm going to come back to here and just
That was
want to
awesome,
say,
Claire.
was that helpful? I felt like I was like going a mile a minute, but I really hope that that was hopeful to the writers and also just to everyone in the room. And yeah, just to everyone that submitted songs, whether they were ones we kind of went through or ones that I still looked at everything. Those were just the 9 that I picked. So everyone that submitted something, just really, really well done. There's so many great writers in this community. It's really exciting. So Pedro, do we have any questions?
Right? It's so awesome to see like so many great musicians and songwriters here at Musiversal. It always mesmerizes me. But we have a lot of people. First of all, complimenting you, saying we have K10 saying this is really great. We have D2E. I'm guessing I'm pronouncing that right. Saying this is very helpful, great stuff. Connor saying he's a big fan of Near Rhymes, which I think it was related to one of the first songs you talked about. So guys, if you have any questions, we do have a couple of minutes still.
Yeah.
So feel free to drop in any question, comments, food for thought, whatever you might have here. And meanwhile, I just want to comment something, Claire, which is you use an expression which is going a mile a minute. And I find that expression so awesome because it means like if you don't think about it, it means that you're going really fast. But then if you actually stop and think about it, a mile a minute is like 60 miles an hour. So you're pretty much doing the speed limit. You're fine. It's all good.
I know it's pretty stable. It's pretty acceptable.
Right? Like you're going a very reasonable speed. Actually, it's safe. Awesome. So Connor just asked if you will ever be on Musiversal Unlimited for songwriting advice and vocal performance, recording for people's songs. So yes, Claire,
yes, I'm there already. Yes, come see me over on Unlimited. So yeah, on Unlimited, you can book me either for a songwriting advice session or for a vocal session, or you can book me for both, which people have started doing, which is lovely. So they come on, we chat about their song, I give them some ideas for how they can make it the best that it can be, and then they say, great, see you on Friday and you can sing it for me then. So that's like a really nice way of working, but obviously you are free to just use either service at any point. You can just pick one or the other, but yeah, or pick both.
That's awesome. Available now in Musiversal Unlimited. And if you're not a member of Musiversal Unlimited yet, we have the window opening soon here in October. So, and if you haven't joined the waitlist, you should join the waitlist because you need to join the waitlist to be able to join Unlimited and, you know, be able to book sessions with Claire and the other amazing musicians we have there. So another question from Connor actually, and is also related to your singing. It says in your profile that you don't sing metal. Does that mean that you wouldn't want to be hired for a song that is the rock/metal genre, but the singing part is meant to sound like a pop vocal? Okay, so
yeah. So I guess there isn't really sort of caveat on my profile to say more, but like as you identified, the bit that you might be asking me to sing on a metal track would be like the sort of pop bit. So obviously that's fine. The actual like metal technique of singing is not something that I do. It's a very specific thing. And I'm sure if you're asking this question, like you're someone that is familiar with the music. So I'm just purely talking about that actual metal vocal is not something that I do. But yeah, I can come and do the singing bit on your song. I was going to reference Evanescence then, because that is how little I know about metal. Yeah.
Well, it's a good start. We have a question not from Riverside, but from YouTube. We have K10 asking that, well, first of all, saying that this was very helpful, and then asking if you have any creative tips for writing that does not use on the nose rhyming.
On the nose rhyming? Yeah, so start with your line that you really love. So start from there. And then I want you to explore continuing that story and not aiming for the rhyme yet. Okay, so what I mean is I don't want you to start line 2 thinking, okay, I'm already thinking, is it feet, meet, deet, leet, deet, yeah? Just write your second line. So this is what I want to say, and then this is what I would really want to say next. Then you're going to explore all ways you can say that, where you're saying the same sentiment, but just saying it in a slightly different way until you land on a pairing that feels like, oh, that could work. So you're just approaching it from a different angle. You're really rooted in what is it I'm trying to say, as opposed to really think I have to make this pair rhyme at the end. Yeah. That's often how you'll land on something where you're like, oh, could that kind of work if that went with that? And then the other tip as well is to keep singing it out loud. And then you'll find like, oh, like written down, those words don't really work together, but the way that I'm singing it, like those will work together. So yeah, try not to really only focus in on the rhyme, because that's when like the box starts to feel really small of what you're saying. Try and approach it from the other angle. Like, this is what I want to say. What sort of different ways I could say that? Like, yeah, and try it from that angle. Yeah, but also it's just something that I guess with like all aspects of songwriting or just creativity in general, just the more that you're doing it, the more you do it, the more all of it just becomes like a muscle, and it becomes stronger, and your brain will just reach for those ideas faster and faster, and you'll find the more interesting rhymes faster and faster, because you won't be going for the obvious. Your brain is just tuned into something that's like kind of leveled up from there. So yeah, I hope those are helpful tips.
That is great advice, and it made me remember of Eminem finding stuff to rhyme with orange. And he goes all the way to, door hinge and porridge. And
yeah, exactly. It's like everyone says, oh, nothing rhymes with orange. And it's like, oh, not literally, I guess, but actually plenty of things sound good next to it. Like a near rhyme. That sounds pretty good. So yeah.
And Connor just commented also that also Dua Lipa does that thing where she just sings without words, and so certain sounds sort of fall into place, almost like Simlish, which I don't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's actually how I do most of my songwriting. I normally start with melody, and I'll just lay down ideas and just make vowel sounds. And then those will start to sort of indicate the rhyming patterns that you're going to end up going towards, just because they naturally felt good. So yeah, that's a very useful technique as well that lots of songwriters will use.
And we actually have Remy here, which sent the song, I forgot the name, it's Magnolia, maybe?
Oh, great.
Yeah, and he appreciated the overall feedback, and he's, reading the songs and stories. And he has been challenged with tone-based connection versus rhyming patterns, and rhyming patterns through the lyrics.
Yeah, so I guess what they're saying there is like, yeah, struggling to find like which is like the priority. So with that song in particular, first thing I want you to do is really think about like, what's the new side of that story that you're going to tell? Is it another memory that's happy, or is it another sad memory? But tell us something different. And I would sort of challenge you to first just write out what that new verse would be without trying to make it into lyrics. So just like, tell us the story. Then once you feel like, okay, now I know what that picture is, now I know what that second verse should say, then start trying to make those ideas into lyrics. So you'll probably find there's a couple of lines that you write that really kind of stand out to you. or start to point you in the direction. And you can use those as your jumping off point and then start to craft your near rhymes from there. But don't start with the rhymes. That's actually a really good point. Don't start with the rhymes before you actually know what you're trying to say. I often, if I'm working with like a co-writer, we'll do this often when it gets to like verse 2, and we're just kind of throwing sounds out there and like, it could be this and this, and then we have to stop ourselves and be like, hang on, what actually are we trying to say in this verse? Like, what's the point of this? Like, what do we want people to hear? And we have to kind of run it back because we sort of get ahead of ourselves looking for like the rhymes, and we're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, the message of this section is we want to say blah 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 blah. Okay, well, why don't we just say this then? So yeah, don't get ahead of yourselves worrying about the rhymes. Sometimes you gotta run it back.
That's great advice as well. And we have time for one last question from YouTube. We have Kate. We are already over time, but it's a very good question, I think.
Okay.
So Keita just asked, what is the verse to bridge to chorus transition that is recommended as far as carrying the theme of the song?
So to try and keep that answer brief, did they say verse to bridge to chorus?
Yes.
Yeah. So your chorus is going to be your main theme, your main idea. We don't want to say too much. We don't need to do too much storytelling. Your chorus needs to be fairly simple, ideally with some repetition. And that has like the headline of this song. Like, this is the message of this song. This is what I want you to remember. It's right here in the chorus, and I'm not giving it away until then. Your verses can kind of tell the story, start bringing us into your world. You can obviously use more words, like feel free to almost get a bit poetic in your verses or your storytelling. But once you know what your chorus is, then you just know, okay, I just need to write the story that leads us to there so it feels connected. When you're talking about your bridge, I think you possibly are referring to what I would call the pre-chorus, but I know some people would call the bridge. So the pre-chorus is what I call the joiner between the verse and the chorus. So often your pre-chorus is where you think, okay, this is just where I'm just going to tie up in a bow, getting from this idea to this idea. Yeah, so that's kind of how to structure it. Verse, set the scene, tell the story. Chorus is the main thing you want us to remember, and then use your pre-chorus to join the dots. Yeah.
Perfect. Great explanation. And we have one last question from Connor, actually from for Musiversal, which I'm gonna answer really quickly. His question is, on Musiversal, do you require sheet music or lyrics attached over to the notes, or you can simply work from MIDI tracks and replace them? I imagine for singing, lyrics are quite necessary, but they're a little bit important. But when it comes to sheet music, it depends on the musician. So Connor, what you have to do is you have to go to musiversal.com. You have to look at our roster and look at the musicians' bios. If they require sheet music, it's going to be written there, and it's going to be specified there, specifically saying for this musician you need sheet music. If they don't, then of course you don't have to. But the thing about music is the more information that you pass, the better the session is going to be. So if you have sheet music, you definitely should send that. If you don't want to write sheet music, write out a MIDI, a very well-written MIDI track or a chord chart. Every bit of information is going to help the musicians to deliver a better performance for you faster and more efficiently, and you have more time in the session to do whatever you want to do, experiment a lot of stuff and whatnot. So Claire, thank you so much for your time today and for this amazing masterclass.
Thank you for having me.
Songwriting. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I hope you found it helpful and informative, and I hope to see lots of you over on Musiversal Unlimited.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces here. So I see Tony Solato here. I see a lot of people. Andre's here, actually. Andre Miranda, our CEO, is here as well. So it's great to see you guys here, and I really hope to see the kind of music that you make here at Musiversal. And I really want to see those lyrics becoming music. So please
Yeah, same.
record
Now I
those
really
and
want to
release
hear all these
those.
songs. Yeah, I'm really
Right?
excited to hear them all. Yeah.
Please release those.